Well, this is a problem. One of my headlights is burned out. Well, so why is one of my headlights being burned out such a big deal? I'll tell you, this car is a time capsule. It is just about totally original with a few exceptions, but I try to keep it very, very original. I don't like to put anything on it that's modern, or not what was there originally unless I just have to. I had to put new set tires on it, and the engine is a replacement. I have the original engine, but it's the same as the original engine. It's a year newer. But otherwise, this car is just like it was when it left the factory for the most part. And one thing is that it has the original headlights in it. I keep trying to say headlamps, but I'm thinking of headlights, I guess. Headlights in it. It has four, of course. So the outers are the low beams and the inners are the high beams. When you turn the lows on, only the two outer illuminate, and then when you have the high beams selected, all four come on. It's almost like the Johnny Cash song. But anyway, these are, well, I'll tell you, let me back up a second. One thing about them is this one is a Westinghouse. It says down at the bottom, clearly Westinghouse. And then the rest of these are Tung-Sol. You see there's a little Tung-Sol graphic there. That was a law. They had to put the name of the headlight in the glass like that at a certain point in time, if you can believe that. But these three are Tung-Sol, and this one's a Westinghouse. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was this way from the factory because of how old these headlights are. Could be wrong about that, but I think Westinghouse was a supplier also. But the important thing for me about this situation was that, excuse me, I'm so sorry if I'm still trying to get over this cold. I'm trying to do that. But the thing about this is important to me is that I've talked about this briefly, but you see this headlight, the pattern on this fluting, how it's kind of wide. I think it's a 1/4 inch is what they call this one. Well, the newer ones, after about 72, 73, whenever it was, they changed to the type that we have now, which is the more narrow style, and I think it's a 1/8. And I don't know why they did that. If anybody knows, let me know. But you can see these are all the original style headlamps in it. So when this one went out, I just was heartsick about it because, I had been looking for one of these, off and on to have a spare, and I could never find one. I thought, where in the world am I going to find another one of these? Because these are your low beams, and low beams get used ever how much more often than the high beams, probably, 80% versus 20%. So these last a lot longer, and these do not. So if I was going to buy a new headlamp, I was going to have to get one of the new style, the new patterns. It wasn't going to match, and so I've been avoiding driving this car at night because of that fact. I didn't want to do that. So I've been feeling sorry for myself. But in the meantime, I've been looking around, and keeping my eye out for headlamps. And these are 4002 is the series they call this one, and this is a 4001. And that designation, I think, is long since obsolete anyway. I think they call this a 4000, but whatever. But either way, it's burned out, and I didn't have another one. So I kept looking, and somebody smiled on me because the other day on eBay, I finally found not just one of these headlamps, but two of them. Not just any kind of headlamp, but another two Tung-Sol headlamps. Check it out. Be a little careful with this. Here's instructions for how to tell which headlamps you have. If you have, like mine, it says number 1 for upper beam, which is 4001. And then number 2 for lower beam, 4002. Well, that's what I need, is that one. So let's take a look at this thing here. That's it. That's it perfectly. See, as soon as we got the thing on it. In the back, and has never been used. These are replacement headlamps. Now, headlamps like this always have a date code on them, and this one has 4002, and it's got the SAE number, H72. I'm not sure what that means, but I think the production date is C of 2, which would be March of 1972, so these were just before they swapped over to the newer style headlamp pattern. So I have another one in there just exactly like this one. So anyway, I got this, and I'm almost afraid to tell you how much I had to pay for these. Let's just put it in perspective. If I had to buy one of these new in 1972, I'd say I'd probably be about $1.99 or $2.99. It'd probably be under $5 for a headlamp for this. These two headlamps were nearly $100 for these things. So you can do the math on how much percentage of an increase that is, but I had to have it. Sometimes when you have to have it, you have to have it. So that is not the only thing I've had to shell out for on this car to keep it, original or like original, and won't be the last, I'm sure, because I searched and searched and searched, and I finally found a perfectly date-coded 1965 alternator. This one does not have the right alternator on it. I'm going to do a video about that tomorrow, all that stuff, but it doesn't have the right one. So I went through all the Mopar parts books and found, 66 parts books specifically, and found out what number alternator it's supposed to have, what pulley, and all that. So that's all on the way. And then the last thing I've got to look for is I have to look for a correct distributor for it. It does not have the right distributor in it either, but train coming. So let me get this headlamp in. We'll see how it works. You see that one's kind of dark up there. It's done. That's better. All right, I'm happy with that. She's ready to cruise. So, okay, I'm gonna flip these headlamps off and we'll do a little bit more show and tell. Gotta work on that hinge a little bit. It sounds like it's binding up somewhere in there. So this is a headlamp that I pulled out. And of course, like I said, it's a Tung-Sol. If you ever see that symbol right there, that's TS's Tung-Sol, and that's a division of Wagner, I believe it was. But it was originally its own company, but I think Wagner bought them out at some point. But before I stopped myself, I wiped away some dust here, and in the process, I wiped away part of the date code, but there's still part of it there above it that says H5, and that said, what I rubbed away there by accident, it said H-65. So H5 is August of 1965, and this car is built in late November, early December 1965, just about this time of year, 53 years ago, when everybody was looking forward to Christmas and the holidays and the new year to come, to see what fortunes that 1966 was going to bring them. And of course, some lucky lady got this car as a Christmas gift in 1965. It was delivered Christmas Eve of 1965 in a little small town up north here in Tennessee. The dealership was a dealership then, and it does not exist anymore. It was called M&M Motors, M&M Motor Company. Back then, one thing to remember is that I guess you could get a, whatever they called it, a license or when you form a dealership. But you could sell, cars out of just about anywhere back then. Car companies were not so stringent about you had to have this much square foot, this kind of building, this size of lot, and you could do this and you could do that. They didn't care back then. You wanted to sell some Chryslers, I guess you just applied for a dealership with the corporate, however it works. Somebody I'm sure knows a lot more than I do about it, but anyway, you could park some order the cars and park them out front and sell them, you know, as long as you had the basics. So that's where this car came from. And so one day we might go back and try to find that dealership, the building at least. But it was just, a lot of them back then were called motor companies. Like the dealer that sold that Oldsmobile back there, it was an Oldsmobile dealer, but it was called LeBaron Motor Company there in Dearborn Heights, Michigan, I believe it was. But anyway, that's the deal. So the headlamp's back in, and you know, there's always going to be people, everybody has their own opinion, and I understand and I support that, and I don't try to denigrate anybody for different from my opinion. But you know, someone was liable to say, well, you know, I can't believe that you drive around with those ancient technology headlamps, and you should have halogen and this and that and the other. And that's fine if you feel that way. But this car, I'm just telling you, this car is, and always will be, it may be a crazy world of 2019 out here with all these halogens and computers and this and HID headlamps that blind everybody. But this car always has been and always will be 1966. So we're going to use the original headlamps, no matter how poor people think they might be. That's what we're going to use, because that's what goes in it and that's what came in it. So these were the days when you didn't have GPS. If you want to know where you're going to go, you had to get a map out of the glove box in there and unfold it, or have someone unfold it and look at it while you were driving, or you had to swing into a parking lot someplace, or a filling station, and look at the map to see where you were going and put it back and all that. And you had to, you know, just kind of find your way. A lot of 2-lane roads and stuff. So that's just how it is. That's why I do this. If you think that, you know, better off of bright modern style headlamps, you know, to me, you're just not really getting it. You know, you're not getting why you have a car like this. It's all about the experience. But in the future, we should be good to go on headlamps. All the lights work now. And in fact, I think everything on this car works just like it should. It's really just a time capsule. One thing I'm going to look for coming up also is this guy right here. This lens has come apart. Somebody's tried to fix it in the past with some lens repair tape, but it is kind of had it. This is one piece here that comes out, and it just, there's a part number I think on it there, 66. That's 65 and 66 were different. So I'll be looking for one of those, and that is not going to come cheap either. But there again, when you have a car like this, it's not a 55 through a 57 Chevy, and you just have to get used to finding used parts and that kind of thing, and paying out the rear for them sometimes. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you for watching, joining me on this, and sure do enjoy keeping this old car going. I really enjoyed bringing it back to life, and it's been a nice journey. Hopefully this year coming up, we're going to do less working on things and more driving and trips and things like that. That's the idea, at least. So anyway, I want to thank you again for watching, and hope everybody has a good one. See you later.